Hello everyone and welcome back to the Cyclocross Social podcast. Another episode this week as we're going to take a look ahead at the World Cup in Hulst. And with me here to do that is Issam. Welcome Issam.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Before we get the going and take a look ahead at the World Cup in Hulst, where Mathieu van der Poel will be starting his cross season after a long absence, we would like to point you towards the GCN Plus app where you can watch all that action live and uninterrupted. Go to gcn.eu/cxsocial for a 25% discount on your annual subscription. This offer is available to all our listeners in the UK, US and Netherlands. So go to gcn.eu/cxsocial for 25% off your annual GCN Plus subscription. Now let's take a look ahead at the World Cup in Hulst. Mathieu van der Poel is making his return, Issam. Fair to say his previous season was a complete flop or disaster after he ended second in Dendermonde, crashed in Zolder and then suffered from his back injury again. Now he's back, but not where he normally starts. He's starting on like the 5th or maybe 4th or 6th row. He's only ranked 87th on the UCI ranking. What do you expect from him here in Hulst?
It's difficult to say. I mean, it's good to see him already back this season in November. I mean, there were some talks that it was going to be December or a little bit, even maybe January was not really possible, but late in December. So he's at least now already back. He will be absent during the week of December, but I think that his chances, he didn't train that long on the bike, so he will definitely miss that feeling on the bike the same way we saw it with Pidcock. I don't think that bad, but definitely will be lacking a little bit. And it's interesting to see he had a very long training camp, or at least he was training for a while in Spain. Didn't touch the cross bike till I think last week. And in that case, it's going to be difficult to come the first race and immediately show yourself, especially on a parkour like Hulst, where it's difficult to overtake, and if he has to start from row 4 or 5. But Dendermonde, I think he was starting row 3 and he was entering 2nd or 3rd after the straight, so he knows how to get through back, and especially at the start he's able to make the positions, but you need to get the room to do so.
Well, I think there's a big difference between Dendermonde and Hulst. 3rd row in Dendermonde is definitely more overcomable than 5th row in Hulst. Hulst has a pretty short start section. It's also not the widest, whereas Dendermonde was the opposite. It was wide and long, so he could easily, or at least relatively easy, move up. He doesn't have that possibility here in Hulst. And then the rest of the course is, of course, very different as well. Hulst is a pretty narrow course. We remember last year when Wout van Aert had that incident in the first lap and needed to basically start his race from all the way at the back as well. It was difficult for him to move up. You miss so much opportunities to at least keep up the same pace as the leaders because it's a super technical course. You ride from corner to corner. So I think it will be difficult. The cross feeling, I don't know. Van der Poel usually, just like all riders, needs a bit of time to set into a rhythm, but less so than Pidcock. And I think that has to do with Van der Poel just having a higher base and maximum level in terms of technique. The way he can go through corners, it's just sublime. I think nobody in the entire cross peloton matches that, and that's what benefits him the most. Hulst should be a course for him, but moving up, I don't know. I think it will be very difficult, so it will be interesting to see if he's able to move up towards the front.
Yeah, definitely. And like you said, I mean, Hulst is indeed a very difficult course to move up. I mean, we had seen the example of Van Aert having those issues in the first lap, and then he had to kind of chase, but already kind of, he realized quite quickly that it was going to be quite difficult for him to get to the front, and he, could have tried to do something about the disadvantage that he had at that moment, but, you quickly get demotivated because you put in a lot of effort and then you might gain 1, 2, 3 seconds. And, it's his first race. He probably wants to show himself immediately from the start. But I just, it's very difficult. And the last time we saw Van der Poel that was good is quite a while on a cyclocross bike. So it's also, we need a confirmation again that Van der Poel is going to be able to reach a level that he reached before the issues with the back. And I think that's definitely something to look forward to see if he is actually able to do so.
Yeah, the fact that the last 2 seasons were so weird, last year with that injury, and don't forget the season before, it was a super weird season. It was the COVID dominated season. The World Cup only had 5 rounds from the top of my head. Van Aert started his season in Kortrijk then, Van der Poel a little bit later, but yeah, it's a long time since we've seen Van der Poel do really well in cross. Of course, he became the world champion there in Ostend, but it just felt different without the spectators. Yes, he was very good that season. He won, I think, all but 4 races, and the ones that he lost in the Monde was extreme mud. Overijssel, he had a puncture when he was leading. Herentals, he also had a puncture. And Gavre, Pidcock was just... Oh no, was it Pidcock? Yeah, it was Pidcock who beat him there, because Pidcock was simply better. If we look back at his season start there, that was in Antwerp. That was a course that is a bit more sandy than where we're going in Hulst, but also pretty technical and flat and fast. There he had some issues with beating Eli Iserbyt, and the day after in Gavre, which was more a course like we had in Overijssel, he got beaten, and only when we came towards Namur, you really saw the best Mathieu van der Poel again in terms of technique. In Ostend, he claimed the world title after, of course, Van Aert had a puncture. Van der Poel crashed in that race. It will always have a bit of an aesthetic on it, at least for the Belgians. I firmly believe that Van der Poel would have won that regardless, because he already took back a lot of time before Van Aert had the puncture. So yeah, it's been a while, but I am confident that we will see Van der Poel in a very good form here, because I don't think you're going to be starting your cyclocross season with such a reputation, especially in cyclocross, if you think that you don't have the form to work towards your big goal, becoming world champion.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, when he starts, he wants to win. He's not 100%, but he should be at a good 80, 85 maybe percent. So he will be starting okay, in an okay shape, but it's just very difficult to tell how, the road season and everything else, how it affected him right now on a cyclocross bike, because it's, despite the fact that you're still on 2 wheels, it's a different discipline, and it's difficult to adjust. And he's the champion that he is, and we're going to see him definitely do well, but it's just, we need a confirmation. And I think that Hulst is not the first race is exactly where we're going to be like, wow, look at Van der Poel, he's going to be here and dominate or something. I think that we will see that he's going to be one of the better riders in the field, but difficult to already think of where he would be placed at. And I think that over the course of the couple of weeks we will see a better Van der Poel than we saw right now, but that's how it goes.
I expect Van der Poel to be up and running properly. Of course, there are many question marks. How is his back going to hold? How will the whole World Road Championships drama affect him? Will he struggle from that mentally? Will the supporters be nice to him? What about the level of the guys that have been regular cross riders? How can they do? I think that it's the same story every year. Every year before Van der Poel and Van Aert come back, I'm reading the same old stories of Iserbyt or Sweeck or whoever. Yeah, this year they are better. This year they will be able to fight. But then when Van der Poel and Van Aert come, they are just simply better. And Pidcock is better on some courses like Namur or Gavre or normally Overijssel if he's been on the crossbike a bit longer. But I feel like it's the same every year, and then every year once they come, they are simply better because they are just very unique riders. They are absolute phenomenal riders. These are riders that only get born once in the 20-25 years. It's very special to see them in action, and they will, I think, eventually become a step above the rest. They will reach the level that they are a step above the rest. In Hulst, Van der Poel will struggle. I already said the course is narrow, has a lot of corners, it's going to be difficult to overtake. He will struggle from that, but I still think that he will be in contention for the win. He has the advantage that he's a super explosive starter. He has the knowledge of how to position himself. His starts are always super. So I think he's going to move up already in the start and then going to need some time. It will be difficult to win, but I think he will be up there around the podium positions. Once we move further into towards the season, if we look at his program, next week he is racing in Boom and Antwerp before taking time off when he is going to come back in Val d'Isle and then race a busy Christmas period. He's going to be good in Boom and Antwerp, then going on a training camp. He's going to build his level to an even higher form level, and then when he comes back, we're going to see a great Van der Poel again. How will he fare against Wout van Aert? That's always the question. We'll talk about that more once we come closer and once we've seen them race in Antwerp against each other. But for now, in Hulst, I think he will be fighting for the podium positions. What do you think, Issam?
Podium positions. It's hard to say. I mean, the quality is definitely there, and the champion he is, he definitely is able to fight for it. But with Pidcock as well, for me it's a bit difficult to say. So I think that the top 5 is realistic, but I think that the podium he might just fall short for that.
Eventually, maybe, but how good will Pidcock really be on this course? I mean, I feel that in Overijse it looked better, but the technique you need, the cross feeling in Overijse is so different than what you need in Hulst. Hulst is more like Merckxplas. You need to be able to send it through the corners, and if we look at Pidcock last season, sure, he won Rukve, but he still had a lot of issues with Iserbyt there. They were evenly matched. If we look at another fast cross, Heus de Zolder, second, again, needed to sprint for that second place against Iserbyt. It was super tight. Will Pidcock be a level above these other riders on a fast course like Hulst? I tend to think that the races we've seen the past couple of seasons indicate that will not be the case. Pidcock is a rider that will do better on the more muddy courses that have elevation. Here, he will be around the level of Sweeck and Van der Haar. Those would be the 2 riders I put forward on the course of Hulst. Lots of corners, fast racing, that should be something for them. Not that much elevation, not all too much running. Van der Haar will be in the disadvantage because the barriers have been moved to very close before the finish line. That should be something that suits Pidcock. He can absolutely win this race. He won it last year. But this early, I can't forget Merckxplas. He looked so dodgy in those corners, making mistakes, crashing. I don't think that rustiness will be out because this week, I don't know how much cross-training he's done. He did 3 hours of cross-training before Overijse. But then again, Overijse is more downhill where he can rely on his confidence, mountain bike feeling. And don't forget, in Overijse at crucial moments, he made crucial mistakes. Pidcock is not at his best level yet. It will be close. I think he will be around the level of Sweeck and Van der Haar.
I definitely think that the level of Pidcock will not be of a level because we have seen it on a course like Overijse where Pidcock was arguably the better guy. The difference between the two was there, but it was not significant. A course like Hulst is definitely something that, as of now, Pidcock is going to struggle up a little bit, but I still feel that Pidcock is definitely one of the better riders in the field, if not the best rider in the field. So I was very impressed with the way he came back from behind in Overijse and how quickly, but also how confident he was doing that. So I think that his form is actually very good already, and he had a week already to adjust to the bike. He did 2 races already, so I think that he will not be as rusty as in Merckxplas. So those extra percent, the form is there. If he starts well and he's able to get good, the good first couple laps, I think that he's definitely able to fight for victory.
Sure, he will be up there fighting for victory. That's what I just said as well. But again, I don't expect Pidcock this week to outclass the rest. I think Pidcock is a pretty versatile rider. He will be, unlike Michael van Toerenhout, a rider that can win on a course like Overijse and here in Hulst. Well, of course, Van Toerenhout also has a shot at winning. But yeah, okay, he will be improved compared to Merckxplas, but I still think it won't be flawless. I mean, last year in Rukve he was making quite some mistakes as well, and then in Namur he said the mistakes I made yesterday came to bite me today, because today I still made those mistakes. That was already his 3rd weekend of racing. He only really got into the groove of things once he'd done this busy Christmas period. He used the very busy Christmas period to get this feel with the cross bike, improve week in, week out, and then eventually come towards his peak He only really peaked at the World Championships. Perfect time, peak there. This season, he will be fine. And what he did last week in Overijssel was impressive, but the courses are just so incomparable. In Merckxplas, Pidcock, 7th, just like in all his season starts the past couple of years. But I just don't think you can overcome such a big deficit in 1 week time. Merckxplas and Hulst will come pretty close together, so yeah, he will be up there, but I don't think that we will see the level he already had in Hulst last year, because don't forget, last year Hulst was all the way in January, now it's still in November. I do, however, think that there's one benefit Van der Poel has. If we talk about the riders Pidcock, Van der Haar, Sweeck, these are all riders that are, generally speaking, a bit more diesels. A rider like Iserbyt, he very rarely misses his start or needs time to get into it. If we would see the top fit Eli Iserbyt here, he would probably go for it from the first lap in order to create a gap. He would want to establish a lead over Van der Poel whilst Van der Poel is stuck in the pack. This is what you need to do if you want to beat Van der Poel, assuming he reaches his normal level. You need to stretch out a gap whilst Van der Poel is stuck overtaking riders. Establish a gap of 30, 40, maybe 50 seconds, it's probably game over for Van der Poel. If you, like Van der Haar, Sweeck and Pidcock, have a bit of a Medora start, where you are stuck in 10th position and need 2 laps to get to the front and get into a groove, Van der Poel will already have overtaken half of the field, or probably even more. And then, well, you can still stretch out a lead, but it will be 10, 15, maybe 20 seconds. That's way easier to close. Van der Poel will stay in the game, will keep pushing. You have to go early. And we know that, especially from the last couple of weeks, on the end of Van der Haar, or basically just the entire 2 seasons, Van der Haar always needs half of the race to really get into a groove and really start pushing it down. Sweeck has done both this season, but he will need a bad start, unlike he had in Overijssel, where he basically went with Van der Haar and started accelerating in the second half of the race.
I don't know. They obviously also know that Van der Poel is going to be starting, and they also don't want to, give him that first lap or that second lap where he already can get into the race, because when he gets into the race, then it might be even more difficult for these guys to beat him. But I think that they understand the necessity of starting fast and making sure that the race is going to be a hard race from the start, because if they do that, it's going to be difficult, obviously, for Van der Poel to move up. And Van der Haar struggles a little bit, but was one of the first guys entering in Overijssel the first lap. Sweeck also has shown that he can start fast when it matters. So I think that if they don't miss the stars, the main characters in a way, and you have, for example, a Van der Bos or someone else, a Soete that is there in 5th or 6th, leaving the gap and the guys go, then it might be very difficult for Van der Poel to move up. So I think that's very interesting to see how that first lap will go.
I mean, all it takes is Stan Godrie having another good start and holding up the field for half a lap again, because Hulst, just like Merckxplas, has so many narrow sections where it's so hard to overtake, especially the part around the pond. Like, sure, legally it's wide enough, but nobody is going to be able to ride on the banking and overtake you. So if you are slow there and can't keep up with the pace, or some of these technical sections, there's very many of them on the course, it's going to be so difficult, and that's really the danger Van der Poel has. He needs to overtake as many riders as possible, as quick as possible. It's an advantage for him that this loop around the barriers is out at the beginning, because that was another section of corners where you couldn't move past. But it's already so fast that you come to the first bottleneck, this off-camber section. And there you are going to be stuck, and you're going to be waiting forever until you can get the going again. And yeah, you will be down already so much time. I think it will be difficult to win. And yes, Van der Haar can have the good start like he had the past couple of seasons, or a couple of weeks, not seasons. He's not a bad starter, but he's a rider that needs more time to warm up his diesel engine and get the going. That's more the issue he has. If he's in the first position, he's not the rider that will put the pace and immediately establish a leading group of 2-3 riders in the early phases of the race. That would need to come from Sweeck. But will you commit to potentially dragging along Lars van der Haar, who is a rider that for some reason is able to always sit in the wheels because riders don't ask him to pace? do you risk potentially dragging a rider like that towards the finish if you stay ahead, or are you stuck in your head like, wait, I might be able to beat Mathieu van der Poel if I race like this, but then I would still lose against Lars van der Haar or whoever is in my wheel, so I'm not going to pace and then risk Van der Poel coming back. It will create some interesting dynamics. If I were to say, I think that Sweeck will be eager to show himself and try and show that he can win also against the big guys. I'm not expecting all too much from Van Toeren now due to the nature of the course here. I'm not expecting too much from Iserbyt because I read an interview with Iserbyt this week. He said that the injury he is experiencing, which is the same one that stopped him from doing mountain biking, is, well, hurting him. He said that in Overijse for the first 2 laps it didn't hurt him too much. Then he had a puncture, needed to run a lot, and that it then started hurting him again and he couldn't go as deep anymore. He was basically stretching now all the way until Antwerp because he doesn't want to give up the classifications he's good in. And if things don't improve, he will probably take a rest period. Skip Dublin and Val di Sol. Take a relaxed training camp in Spain and try to work back because the way it's going now can't continue according to him. That's why I don't expect all too much from him here in Hulst. Which leaves me with Sweeck, Van der Haar and Pidcock. I don't know, I think it will create very interesting dynamics to see how these riders go. Pidcock is known to not be the best starter. His start in Overijse was alright. He was starting on the second row, kept his position, would have gone into the field, I think, around 8th or 10th if it hadn't been for his chain drop. But yeah, his chain needs to stay on this week as well because Ineos has had many issues with the chain. It will be interesting. I don't know. I think it's complicated. It will be interesting, many dynamics. If I need to make a prediction now, I don't know how to do it because, wow, it's going to be. There's so many unknowns for this race, but that's why I will let you go first. Or if you maybe have anything left to say, you can still put forward a name or some opinions.
No, I think that we went through it quite good. But if I have to go for predictions for the podium, I think that Sweeck will go for his 3rd World Cup victory. I think that guy is just on a roll. You know, he knows now how to win races. So I think that is definitely the guy to watch as a parkour as well. I think that suits him quite well. He's just at a good place. So I think that for me, if I should predict, I would say Sweeck definitely for the win. And then I would say that Pidcock would be 2nd. And then 3rd place, I would say Van der Haar would snatch the 3rd.
Ooh, no Van der Poel at all on your podium.
No.
Maybe I gave too many questions this podcast. I genuinely don't know the answer, so I want to have our listeners have these questions as well. I'm putting them forward as open questions. How will Van der Poel fade in overtaking? I don't know, it's hard to tell. As I said, there's so many unknowns and variables in this race that I think it will make for a very interesting one. Don't forget, the racing starts at 10:45 Central European time due to the match of Belgium against Morocco. Good news for Issam, as he will be wanting to watch that as fan of the Moroccan team at the World Cup. But yeah, it will be interesting. Everything is different in this race. It could be something that influences riders. I know some riders don't like these adapted starting hours. Some are just used to their routine, but I don't think it will affect the top guns too much. They are used to it. They are professionals, so we'll see. If I need to make a podium prediction, I will be going with a win for Lars van der Haar, I would say. I expect something from him in his home country. And then 2nd place will go to Mathieu van der Poel. And the 3rd place to Lars Sweeck.
2nd already? If he does that would be great, to be honest. But
yeah, I mean, come on, it's Van der Poel. We've seen him in Loenhout and in Koksijde, where he was also lost and then overtaking the entire field and moving all the way to the front. So nothing is impossible for him. He will have a good start and then move through the field. It's not like he needs to overtake 60 riders. He will need to overtake 40 riders. If you can take 10 on the start-finish straight and then take another 10 in the first lap, you will find yourself in a decent position. Pidcock, his diesel start and rustiness will still cost him in this race, whereas Sweeck and Van der Haar, yeah, I just think they will come just, or at least in terms of Sweeck, he will come just short here. Van der Haar will get his victory here. I think he's yet to win a World Cup this season. It's his time. Let's go and talk about the women's race then. Issam, for you, who is the clear favorite there?
If Overijse didn't happen, I would say Van Empel and be very confident about that. And I think that it still will be Van Empel that is going to be the main favorite for a race like Hulst. But I think that Pieterse definitely gained some confidence after Overijse, knowing that she has, that there always are possibilities for her to break Van Empel and actually win a race. And she is, I think, on a roll right now. So it's difficult to say, but those are definitely the two names that, that are the main favorites for the course on Sunday.
I would say Van Empel is still the top favorite on a course like this. The course just suits her, and it's a bit of a thing I've noticed this season, that a lot of races have moved their barriers towards the end of the course, but Van Empel was also jumping the leads in Beekse Bergen, so I don't think it will give Pieterse an advantage. If it was earlier in the season, I would have said, wow, okay, Pieterse is going to be jumping them, open a gap, sprint towards the line. Now with Van Empel jumping, I don't see where Pieterse is going to drop Van Empel on this course if Van Empel has a normal form that she had the past of or at least the season so far. So I would definitely say that Van Empel is the clear favorite here. The course is fast, it's something that suits her. She can attack in the final lap, or she can wait for a sprint, which she would win against Pieterse. Yeah, I'm expecting these two riders at the front, but not only them, because the course, it's very hard to make a difference. Last year we had a big leading group for a long part of the race. Pieterse had a big lead, if I recall correctly, for a part of the race. Brand closed it and then won the race. Vos had an off day. I don't know, there was not a leading group at the front, but there were definitely some groups together, and that's something I would expect here again. Not big groups, because of the corners it will get stretched out and there's quite some difference in terms of level. Van Anrooij will be up there. Vos is taking a rest period. Yeah, Kastelein is starting her season. Don't expect too much from her here. But, yeah, I would say that it's against Van Empel and Pieterse, but we saw that Van Anrooij was able to beat them in Beekse Bergen. That could definitely happen again here, if the others look at each other, or if they don't recognize the superior tactics of Van Anrooij to attack when the others are looking at each other, making tactical errors. That could happen. Don't know how Brand will develop. What do you think? Is it really between those two, or will some other riders also be in the mix?
I think in the end it will be between the two. I think that they are right now just a little in better shape. I think that a scenario with Van Anrooij is not unlikely, especially because of the nature of the course. I think that Alvarado is definitely an outsider on a course like this, because she's able to hold on to the two in front. I think the most out of them all in the field, apart from, I think, Van Anrooij, who has been kind of the third woman in the field behind these two in the World Cup races. But yeah, I think that for the third spot of the podium it will be interesting. But I think that the first two definitely will be assigned to Van Empel and Pieterse.
Yeah, Van Anrooij is definitely a good rider. I don't know if Van Empel and Pieterse will make the same tactical error as they did in Beekse Bergen. I do think Van Empel is struggling a bit with her role and the pressure that comes with being the leading woman of the field. The way that she is in the interviews, it doesn't seem that confident. There was a behind the scenes kind of interview around the European Championships in her camper van, and she said that she didn't expect this, that she's sometimes a bit nervous. That interview was in Dutch, and it just, at least to me, gave the impression that she is not, or at least not that she's not ready for what comes with being the leading woman, but that she struggles with what comes with it. Like the way that she's talking in Overijse, where, well, I'm not going to give any excuses. Pieterse was very good, but I had cold legs the whole day, and my legs felt tired. I felt some tiredness, and my hands were cold, but Pieterse was the strongest. Or remember way back to the race that she won she didn't win against Lucinda Brandt in Molenbeek, was the same story. Well, I made a mistake, but I learned from my mistakes, and today was not important, so I don't really care. Or when we were in Beekse Bergen, well, I came here for a podium. How can you say I come here for a podium when you've basically only lost one time? Maybe she's just like, I feel like she's struggling a bit, which is very normal when you're coming in this position, and she is still very young, and just the whole world of cross at this top level is new for her. So I can definitely understand that it's difficult for her. So yeah, I don't put it past her to make the same error again, because there's always a bit of luck involved in these things or these attacks of Van Anrooij, but it's also just a tactical error, especially by someone like Van Empel. She admitted to it basically in the interview after Beekse Bergen. If she would have reacted earlier, she could have still won the race. So it was definitely a mistake on her end. You would expect her to then not do it again, but the whole situation, how she is presenting herself, makes me doubt that she would in fact actually not make the same mistake again. Because, again, if you're the leading woman, you're expected to be the one to react. You have the best sprint. Pieterse would be a fool to close all the gaps for Van Empel to basically deliver her at the start-finish straight and say, well, here, sprint towards victory. So, how do you feel about that, Issam? Do you think that if somebody attacks this time, she wouldn't react? Or do you think that maybe I'm just putting out absolute nonsense about her not being fully prepared for what comes with being the leading woman?
I think that might be a personality issue. I mean, if you go from a position where you are just an under 23 prospect, and right now indeed she's kind of thrown into this position where she's probably the best woman at the moment in cyclocross, or definitely one of the best. And if you're thrown in such a position, you dominate so far this season, and you have, I am becoming critical of one race in Overijse, and while the rest of the season she was winning, and sometimes easier than others. So I think that when she goes to Jumbo, they will definitely give her some media training, and then the answers will not be as doubtful as they are right now. But I think that for her, it's now just time to make sure that the pressure doesn't get to her, and that she's able to control the pressure that is laid upon her. She needs to make sure that that she's still very young, and needs to understand the fact that she's still very young, and that it will come with time. And like right now, it's all great, the fact that she already is so far ahead of most of the women in the category, but she needs to just keep her head cool, and in a couple of years she will laugh it off. So I think that I think we shouldn't be looking too much into it, and when she goes to Jumbo, the media training will definitely make sure that the answers will be not as doubtful as they were last couple of times.
Well, I don't think it will only be media training. I think she is already making steps and growing in her role of being one of the best cyclocross riders in the world, and it's normal that takes time. I mean, I just said it. I don't fully agree with the narrative that she was always a football, or as the Americans will say, soccer player. She was racing cross earlier. She was racing against me, and yes, it was not her priority, but she was definitely taking it serious. She was definitely training for it and doing the races, but it just all took off when she won these Helen 100 races in Belgium and won the series. That's when it really took off for her, joined Poel Sousa, and she had tremendous progress within a very short period of time. It's super difficult to adapt to that, because within 2-3 years she went from not knowing if she wanted to do cycling or football to being the best cyclocross rider in the world on the women's side. That's a huge difference. And it makes sense that you are then a bit nervous, maybe making some tactical errors from time to time. I would expect her to have learned from it and not have it happen again. She hasn't won for 2 weeks now. It's already kind of insane that we're saying, oh no, she didn't win for 2 weeks in a row. It's no big deal. It will come again, and I expect it to come here in Hulst. It's a good course for her. She's going to be taking the win here.
Okay. I could be saying the same, but I'm gonna mix it up. I'm gonna say that Pieterse, with the momentum, is going to take the win in Hulst, and Van Empel will be second.
But how? Where is Pieterse going to drop Van Empel?
It's just a vibe. It's just a vibe. I mean, I think that Van Empel definitely, on a course like this, it's very unthinkable that Pieterse will be able to crack the difficult code in the likes of Van Empel. But I think that, I don't know. It's just a feeling that Pieterse might just try something, and with the momentum, you never know. But realistically, I agree with you completely that Van Empel is definitely the bigger favorite. But I would just say with my gut feeling and say that Pieterse will win it.
It would only work if the story of Van Empel building up tiredness due to increased road training, if that would be holding, then maybe in terms of form, Pieterse is better and fresher. But as I said earlier, I just don't see where she's going to be dropping Van Empel on this course, because Pieterse, yes, she has the good technique, but Van Empel will be able to follow her. Both bunny hop the barriers now. Both are able to match each other on this course. There's no super decisive features. It has this big run up, and nobody is going to be riding it or even halfway riding it because it's just so insanely steep. The sections around it, I would just see that this is just going to be a perfect race for Van Empel. She will be taking the win here. Pieterse second, third place. Yeah, that will be a bit of a mix. I would expect probably Shirin van Anrooij, but let's still walk over some other names. Brand, Betsema, Alvarado, any others? What do you think?
Well, as I said, I think that Alvarado definitely is a good outsider for the race, and I saw it I would say Max Plus was definitely good for her, but then in Overijse it was for her a bit more difficult. So it's hard to really think. I think she's gonna do Kortrijk, if I'm not mistaken. So then she already has one race in the legs. I don't know about her. For Brand, it's definitely interesting to see what type of progress she had made this week. Because last week it already looked quite good. I think that still on a course like this, the differences are a bit smaller. So she will definitely try to follow the others in front. But I think that she would just be a little off, and it's interesting to see what Van der Heijden and Van Alphen can do. And Van Alphen definitely with a good race in Overijse, if she can take that momentum with her in a race like Hulst, which is definitely way different from what we had in Overijse. And if the weather is going to stay the same as it is right now, I think there was only rain predicted for the Sunday itself, but it will probably stay relatively dry. Then it's going to be quite a fast course, and then it's going to be smaller differences and maybe a more tactical race.
Brand is definitely improving, but I do still think that she will be lacking a bit on a faster course like this. It should be a fast one, as you say. So I'm not really reckoning her for a podium. It should be something for Inger van der Heijden. But then again, for a podium, maybe not. Betsema, don't think this is the perfect course for her. Although, it should be a course for Betsema, but the last couple of weeks have been a bit iffy on her end. She didn't have a good race in Beekse Bergen. Overijse didn't look too great either. I think she will be racing Kortrijk as well, so maybe a bit of lack of freshness on the Sunday as well. She'll be good in Kortrijk though. She will be going for that X2O in there. Same, I think that Van Anrooij will also be riding there, considering the importance of Balois Trek. So yeah, maybe it's a golden opportunity for Alvarado. I don't know if she's actually starting Kortrijk. She didn't race the Koppenberg, so the classification is not a reason for her to do it. Should be a good course for her. I would probably say that this week Ceylin gets a World Cup podium. So yeah, my podium would be Van Empel, Pieterse, and then Alvarado. Good course for her. Form is there. Yeah, that will be my top 3.
I think solid top 3. I will give. I would say that Van Anrooij would be the third on the podium, because just she has been on that position. It feels like it already has been quite some times that she has been third behind these two, but I think that she definitely can be third with the way she's riding the last couple of weeks.
Okay, then Issam, thank you so much for taking a look ahead with me at the World Cup in Hulst.
Yes, thank you for having me.
You are lucky that they made the starting hour for the World Cup so early, so you can watch Belgium play Morocco. Will you be watching it on the big screens in Hulst or at home?
No, I will watch it at home, but I'm happy that they took my notes. I was already asking the UCI if they could move it, and they listened and complied with me. So I'm very happy that they were able to help me out with this with these times.
Good for you then. Good news for you is that there's no rush to record the podcast, since Twan will be joining us for the podcast about Hulst. You will be back on the day before, actually, when we're going to discuss the X2O trophy in Kortrijk. Thanks again for being here today, and we will be back, as said, then on Sunday with a podcast about the X2O trophy in Kortrijk. See you guys then. Goodbye.